Well, I need to welcome you back. And indeed, we're still with the big story for today. And we're talking about that federal government plan to cut down on our borrowing. And not just that, but our over-reliance on external loans. And you agree with me that is only not just timely, but the right thing to do. And hence, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had to make that very utterance yesterday during the inauguration of that committee he set up to deal with the issue of tax reforms. But is it all about reforming it, or rather thinking of other best ways to deal with the issue of raising revenues for the nation as it looks through in redirecting the economy that seems to be on a decline? But anyway, we're really dealing with the issues, and hence we have our guest right here. I'm talking of no other person but Comrade FM&TV, an economist and a comrade to help us really look at it. Well, in case you're joining us, just a quick recap of what we've had in our earlier half of the discussion. We talked greatly about a result of what, or rather impact, this huge borrowing and servicing has had on the lives of Nigerians, as also as we look at why is government now coming to that realization that such borrowings are unsustainable. And is it a quite departure from the style of governance, knowing that we have a different administration, or was it that government was in the initial, or especially the last administration, did not think around it to look at what other means to deal with the issue of revenue rather than quick means of borrowing, pushing us to almost 96% of our revenue now used in servicing it. But that's what we had in our initial, and we'll still continue. And Comrade FM&TV, I want us to still continue because I want us to drive it home. And when I mean drive it home, I want Nigerians to understand the impact this huge borrowing and also servicing is affecting them as a whole. On the mind, you said every Nigerian is already feeling the pinch, knowing that we're also part of government. But just yesterday, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria blamed hardship as their output has declined by almost 750 billion in 2022. And GlaxoSmithKline customer Nigerian PSC last week has shut down its operations in Nigeria, citing years of bad profits and high cost of running its operation. But I want you to further help us explain how this huge borrowing and servicing has impacted on the economy.
You know, first of all, over-depending on foreign loans will weaken the power of your local currency. For a very long time, Nigerian economy has been dollarized, which means our naira is almost going out of.
With our latest understanding, in the black market, $1 is to 900 naira as it stands yesterday.
Good. So if you are having 900 naira to buy a dollar, how much naira do you need to bring in goods from overseas, knowing fully well that we don't have any capital base? So why do you think the naira will be strengthened or will be firmed up against the dollar when you don't have any cash backing? I call it cash backing because the reserve is totally depleted as it is now.
To wage your own local currency.
Yeah, to wage our own local currency. And in that case, our inflation rate will continue to be higher. How many people can afford to take care of their families now? If you are earning 45,000 naira per month, even 50,000 naira per month, and you are using 1,000 naira to buy a dollar, how much dollar is that? That's just about $45. How do you put food on the table of your wife and children? At the end of the day, you become an entity in your house. And now let's come back to the industrial sector.
Yes.
How much do you think that will be plowed into running the company based on power only? How many times do you have electricity to run your business?
We're not even talking about raw materials.
Yes, we've not even started talking about raw materials. Just to sustain it, let there be light in that place, because the number one thing in every industry is the light. Now you are spending all the profit you are able to rake in on your power. That is the generating set and the oil to run it. Look at how much is 4 liters of oil. Now, land is about 25,000 naira to service a vehicle. That's a vehicle, not even an industrial machines. So until we get these things right, if we say we want to stop this heavy dependence on borrowing, it can never be a Bradley plan. Bradley plan, it is immediate. You cannot achieve it. It will cause chaos. The only thing the government can do for now, tell us your policies. Tell us where you are going. How
to
you
help shore up production.
Yes. Tell us where you are going, how you want to achieve it. That is why they say a manager is not just the person who sits in the office and takes policies. A manager is the person that knows where he's going, how he gets there, and carries people along. That is a proper definition of being a manager. I want to achieve this by year 2024. We're already in 2023. Let us still be running this thing pari passu. What is going to make us be self-reliant? We need to fall back to our local production. And how do we do that? Put those machineries in place. Let those local production start. While you still look at the external area. So at the time that you are coming up locally, and when you get to a level that you cannot say, yes, I cannot remove the carpet under the feet of my borrowing, then you stop that. But if you stop the external borrowing, you don't have anything on ground to do it, it is going to be a very, very chaotic situation that even the best economists in the world will not be able to tackle it. But don't forget, Nigeria has defied every macroeconomic policy. Everything that has happened in
so it can work. That's what you're saying.
It cannot work with immediate, or it cannot work immediately. But there can be light of the tunnel if we have a proper policy.
Talking about that light
at the tunnel.
At the end of the tunnel, let's look at what he said yesterday and see if he has that torchlight, if you let me say
Allogene.
So. Yes, to help. But let us walk through that very dark tunnel. And let's look at what he said yesterday. He talked about tax reform that will deal with taxing not the poor, but consumer goods and others. And he's even having a plan to increase tax to GDP by 18%. Do you see that as a measure in dealing with what our borrowing plan has been already, and in helping to really take us away from borrowing and also deal with the issue of raising revenue for the country?
The masses are already on the ground. You want to increase their taxes again.
But he didn't talk about taxing poor Nigerians, but he talked about taxing consumer goods and others.
What is consumer goods? Who are those people consuming the goods? Is it not saying you and I that are consuming them? You are not coming to me to say, okay, my salary in the office is 100 or something thousand naira, I should pay tax on it. That's not what the man wants to do.
So it's more like value-added tax.
You are taxing the product that I want to buy with that money. At the end of the day, who pays the tax? Is it not the same me? What is incident of tax? So there are so many things.
Can we tax ourselves out of this?
We cannot. Nobody taxes himself out of poverty. It is never done. You don't tax yourself out of poverty. There are three ways of getting out of poverty: the family, the foe, and the friends. Those are the three things that get you out of poverty. If you call on your friends, this is the problem I have. Put your heads together, you can come up with something. Then who are the foes? Who are those who are standing on your progress? Identify them. Which is this external borrowings and over-dependent on our oil and revenue, which is even dribbling in the international market right now. Then the family. The family are your immediate friends that you can easily rely on. Until these three factors are taken into consideration, you cannot tax yourself out of poverty.
But the FIRS, I'm talking about the Federal Inland Revenue Service, was able to raise about 10.04 trillion in 2022 when our budget was just 21.8 trillion this year. So is that not almost half of it? And looking at that tax revenue, if we show it up to 15 trillion, are we not just having a shortfall of just 6 trillion that can be sourced through our oil means?
We can, but the question we continue to ask is, with that tax, where are you getting it from? Is it not from the same individual? It goes back to the individual again, then comes back again to the government. So it's a round-tripping movement of cash.
A round-tripping movement of cash that does not involve borrowing.
It does not involve borrowing, but it does not increase
and saving us from using most of that cash that is going round in services.
Does it change anything in your pocket? You give to me 20 naira, I give to C 20 naira, C gives back to you 20 naira. Has it improved your economic standard?
Of course not.
So what are we talking about here? Until, of course, we start looking at those areas that will make us get out. We cannot get out of this through tax. Let us actually go back to the basics.
And the basics you mean?
The basics, I mean, before the discovery of oil, we were surviving better than the way we are now. Our parents were so happy doing what they were doing to survive. Now, let us just even remove a GlaxoSmithKline line. Yeah. Let us remove Bereg. Let us remove Bata. Let us remove coal. Let's remove Michelin. Let's go back to the north and bring a pyramid, the granite pyramid there. Go back to Jos and have the pan. Peugeot Automobile, is it Automobile Association or Peugeot Association of Nigeria? Where are those companies now? Where is Polar? There is one company they were calling Polaris then that were in charge of producing drugs. Where are all these people? What is the government doing? Forget about all these things we are talking about. We are just dancing around or a small circle. Look at this small country that came up from the Southern Africa. The man came up and said, look,
Rwanda, okay.
We cannot continue this way. Let us forget about what we are doing. Tell me what you can do. You tell me what you can do. You tell me what you can do. You have this money to run what you would, but give me result. Today, they are better off than whatever they are. But If I go with this thing I want to mention, many people will crucify me. But I think we are discussing a national issue that affects you and I. I said this sometimes ago, whether...
Religion.
Religion. If you go from a toll gate in Lagos up to the Lagos-Ibadan expressway, up to that Shagamu Junction, even up to Iperu, I don't know whether you know those areas. Both sides of the roads have been occupied by mega churches. No single industry coming up. Now they are extending from Shagamu Junction into Abeokuta, that straight road. They know that industries are... estates are coming up. Most of all the landed property along the express have been bought by churches to put their mega churches. Come back to Delta here where you and I are domiciled. Look at all our expressways. There is no single industry. And you expect a miracle to happen. If you travel from Alexandria to Egypt, you travel from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, your eyes will be lost in the forest because of crops, cash crops that people have planted through the help of the government. Israel has no water. It's only they depend on irrigation. And if they could be feeding four of the biggest countries in the world, what happens to you and I that we are blessed with everything? But we have forgotten those things because we believe that we can put in one office, bring a voucher and sign. The voucher of 1 million, you make it 100 million. You see that I have made it. Then you go to one church and you go and do Thanksgiving that, yes, I've arrived. Arrived where? Where does all these things boil down to? At the end, if you pull 1 naira out of the economy fraudulently, it comes back to haunt you on the profitability level of it. If you cannot contribute to the increase in the profitability level, don't contribute in the cost of it. Otherwise, at the end of the day, you are running out of business. We need to actually put our acts in order. We can revive agriculture, which is very possible.
Okay.
We can revive the Ajaokuta rolling mills. Do you know what is holding it? What is holding Ajaokuta rolling mills today?
It's just less than 10%.
Less than 10% of the total cost invested. So why are we wasting that money?
But would you also agree that most of the equipment there is almost becoming obsolete, knowing that it was done by the Russians some years ago?
There is
and having to replace most of them if they go bad.
But you cannot go out of it. There is something they call nuisance value in economy. They have to look at the nuisance value. If we say, okay, well, we want to build another one, what is the cost of rebuilding this thing and repairing what we have on ground?
We can't think around that.
Exactly. And now, what one we have at the back of our house here, DSC, what's it doing? What are we doing with all these things? Now they told us that Port Harcourt refinery will start work by December. I pray it does. If it doesn't, then the money that have been pumped, what happens to that money? Then if you now bring these refineries back to work, you now start thinking of the capitalists in the economy. Where are they going to recoup all the money they invested in tank farms? Billions of dollars during the Obasanjo regime. Who is going to bear the brunt of that one? The capitalists, if they are not properly handled, they will crumble the economy and they sit behind to look at you. And they will not call you a big-headed man that has nothing in it.
You're making it sound as if we're between the devil and the deep blue sea.
If not more. Wow. Because if you are falling to the ground, you're not afraid of falling anymore. Or you are lying on the floor and somebody says, but don't lie down well so that you won't fall. Where are you falling to again from that level? Nowhere. We should be able to hold the bull by the horn. If the president can actually stand his ground, carry his assembly members, that is the House, the House members are along, with a clear-cut policy, and let us see where we are going and know where we to arrive there. A destination or a goal is a destination with an arrival time, for your information. Let us get the goal we are going to. Nigerians will follow. But the very moment they see that you started derailing or you are playing some hickey-panky, you want to start deceiving them, they will revolt. So
the tax reform is not the best way to go?
For now. It will still boil down to you and I. It will give us more pains than what we are experiencing today.
Okay, now you made mention of something I also want us to bring. Like you said, is it not time also we look at the issue of spending, and we talk about high cost of governance, which is even expected to remain high on the back of ongoing political appointments, as you've said, over-bloated civil service, as well as earnings by our lawmaker, despite the introduction of the reverse public service rule, which seeks to cut down payroll and prone spending. And I'm really surprised that policy, by no order, but the head of civil service herself, has come into swing. But it's only surprising that we're also getting, rather than the reverse public service rule, which should normally deal with this issue of high cost of governance, we're still having, like you said, more political appointees and also especially more new ministries that will come on swing. Is it not time? Because whether we borrow, whether we tax, whether we generate, high cost of governance will still take a large chunk of it.
Largest chunk.
Largest chunk. Better explanation. So is it not also time that this government think towards that, to help deal with the issues of or to help let Nigerians understand that a proper reform is basically on the way?
If we, like as rightly explained, in the past administration, before this present dispensation,
Yes.
I know of a state governor who had almost 5,600 essays. Now, assuming each collects 300,000, which is not possible.
Okay, let's take it down to 100,000.
100,000 times 5,600 in a month, times 1 year, times 8 years. How much is that?
Well, Commander Domo, I left school.
You need a calculator for that.
Okay, well, I would need that.
Good. If all these things are able to be put, and I can bet you most of those appointees don't even know where the capital of the state or the seat of government is. At the end of the month, they have the alert. They will say it's empowerment. That is not empowerment. It is further pushing down and impoverishing the people. Why don't you use those money you are using or spending frivolously to go and establish some mega projects that will benefit the generality of the people? What is the crime if you and I could use light for 18 hours in a day, Mike? Is it a crime? Don't you know that if that happens, our industries will be revived? All these boys that are on the streets going about doing miscreant jobs will be gainfully employed by themselves. And when they are gainfully employed, in that wise, you can even now extend your tax base rather than taxing the products in the market. If I'm a organizer, every day I have jobs to do. This one is a mechanic, every day he has jobs to do. This one is a hairdresser, every day he has jobs to do. Tell me, if you now go to these people that this thing you are doing, your tax on daily basis is 100 naira, they will willingly pay. It is better for them than going to the market to say the tomatoes we were buying because of taxes at the top, where they want to start taxing the products. It has gone from 100 naira to 200 naira. Why the man has not even made any income? So with extending and broadening our tax base, you need to open up the economy. If you don't open the economy, everything will go down the drain, like we have in the river basin era.
Yes.
Every of our plants went into the river basin. From Owena Basin, Diffree, from Diffree to this and that and this. At the end of the day, everything ended up in the Owena Basin River.
Owena Basin.
Exactly. We should not expect or experience such issues anymore. The government should actually, for now, go ahead with the external borrowing. It may not be too comfortable with us, but we don't have a choice until we open up the economy so that we are self-reliant. And when you are it's just like if a massively poor man who depends on his neighbor to feed every day, they want to just come up and tell the person that just I beg not borrow money from that man again, and you don't even have a tin cup of gari in your house. You will die of hunger. Why don't you continue petting that man, still getting those little things from him when you are busy brooding your farm? So after about 9 months, when you now bring your house, so boy, for the past 2 days, you've not come for anything. Say, I can produce my own now. If I come and see my farm, you see what I've done. But you have not done that. You say you want to stop the external borrowing. How do you survive? It is even your own cabinet members that will start the fight first, before you now talk of the masses. And you know, such fighting in the public places, it is survival of the fittest. Anywhere belle face, neither they call for worry. Anywhere you face is with anger. I told you some time ago when I was still in Lagos, I was going to the office. I worked in the Agboju area of Lagos then. A man stopped at mile 2. Then 20 naira was the biggest denomination. Yes. He told the driver to stop. He wanted to buy a newspaper. The newspaper was about 30 kobo or so. Guardian. And as he brought 20 naira to buy the newspaper, somebody just came from nowhere, snatched the money from him. I said, you decrease. I never chopped since morning. You can't buy newspaper. Something they do you. The man was just looking at the guy like, he couldn't talk. The man walked away with the money. And nobody said anything. So we should not try and move ourselves or move towards that type of life again. Thank God enough, we have those who can see tomorrow now, unlike in those days, that can futurize what will happen in this country. Look at from here to Patani, we have so much arable land. Look at from here to Benin or Reyanko, we have arable land. Why don't we convert those things to assets? Why don't we convert them to wealth generating outputs? Yeah. Why can't we? I have a man in Warri, I don't want to mention his name because it's Lamanto Marketing, that produces over 50,000 fishes every month. Every month. Now, if he's making a profit of 300 naira per fish, multiplied by 50,000, how much is that? Why can't we establish such things? Why can't we now say, okay, what is the problem we're having now? Okay, number one, power generation, which is very important. Come, if you know you have the power and the weighted to the technical and the technocrats to put in IPP, go ahead and put it. I will give you the license. What is wrong in that? The TCN, the transmission company, the distribution company, open them up to people who can do them, but they will not do that. Now they say they have privatized NEPA and they have balkanized it to different entities, but you are still controlling the metering, you are still controlling the billings, and you say you have contracted it out. You use your money to buy pole, you use your money to buy cable, you use your money to buy transformer, only for them to energize it, then you start paying them the bill. And you have no right to that cable you have bought. Who is cheating who? The biggest fraudulent company we have in the country today remains NEPA, whether they like it or not. And when those bad boys, I think let us have some a bit of human face into it. You know what they call NEPA? National Establishment for Public Annoyance.
Ellen, we'll not be annoyed about that. And,
okay, let us come civil.
Let's come civil.
National Economic Paralyzing Agency.
Okay, well, let's just leave the name out of it. I'll plead with you to hold on. We need to go on a break now. But when we come back, we'll continue our discussion as we look at this. Should tax be the best way, especially with that recent announcement coming from no other person but President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying that, well, a tax reform might really do the magic and help stop our borrowing, and especially our reliance on external loans. Let's go on a break.